The silent diplomacy. Ambassador Sarah Chen stepped through the crystalline corridors of the Galactic Council's primary station, her footsteps echoing against walls that sparkled with embedded starlight. The massive structure orbited the neutral moon of Sirian, serving as the diplomatic heart of a galaxy containing over 400 civilizations. Today marked the culmination of 18 months of delicate negotiations between humanity and the Council. The Grand Assembly Hall stretched before her like a cathedral of alien architecture. Towering pillars of living coral supported a transparent dome that revealed the swirling nebula beyond. Representatives from dozens of species filled the amphitheater-style seating. The Zephyrians floated in their environmental bubbles, their gaseous forms shifting with emotion. The crystalline Corythi sat motionless, their faceted bodies refracting light into rainbow patterns. Insectoid Vextar clicked their mandibles in what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of applause. Honored delegates, Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall's acoustic design. We stand at a crossroads. For too long, humanity has remained isolated on the galaxy's outer rim. We have watched conflicts consume entire star systems while we built our strength in silence. Elder Faxmore of the Corythi Council raised one crystalline appendage. His translated voice resonated with harmonic frequencies. Ambassador Chen, your species has demonstrated remarkable technological advancement in a relatively short time. Yet many council members remain concerned about humanity's aggressive tendencies. Sarah nodded diplomatically. She had expected this objection. Humanity's rapid expansion and military development had made the established powers nervous. We understand these concerns, Elder Faxmore. That is precisely why we propose the Mutual Defense Compact. Rather than compete for resources, we can share our technologies and protect each other from external threats. The Vextar representative, General Klicknish, leaned forward on his 6 legs. Your defensive technologies are impressive, but what of your offensive capabilities? Our intelligence suggests humanity possesses weapons we cannot comprehend. All civilizations possess weapons, Sarah replied carefully. The question is whether we use them for conquest or protection. We choose protection. For 3 hours, the debate continued. Sarah fielded questions about human colonies, military doctrine, and technological capabilities. She spoke of cooperation, shared scientific advancement, and galactic peace. The assembly seemed receptive, with several species indicating preliminary support for the compact. Then the lights flickered. The dimming lasted only a moment, but in that instant, Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. Her enhanced peripheral vision caught movement in the upper galleries, a figure raising something metallic. The projectile struck before she could react. The energy bolt burned through her chest, and Sarah Chen crumpled to the speaking platform. Her vision blurred as chaos erupted throughout the hall. Security drones swarmed the galleries, but the assassin had vanished into the station's maze of service tunnels. As medics rushed forward, Sarah managed to activate her emergency communicator with trembling fingers. Her voice was barely a whisper. Project Nightfall is authorized. Dr. Marcus Webb, her personal physician and secret intelligence operative, caught her final words. His face went pale as he understood their significance. Project Nightfall wasn't just a contingency plan. It was humanity's ultimate statement of independence. Within hours, Earth went silent. The communication blackout was absolute. Every human embassy, trading post, and diplomatic mission across the galaxy received the same encrypted message. Return home immediately. All external communications suspended indefinitely. Human ships that had been traveling through Council space simply vanished, not through destruction, but through sudden course changes toward the outer rim. Council investigators found no trace of violence, no debris fields, no distress signals. Humanity had simply withdrawn from galactic civilization, as if it had never existed. Elder Faxmore convened an emergency session 3 days after the assassination. We must determine who killed the human ambassador, he declared. This act of violence violates every principle of diplomatic immunity. General Klicknich's mandibles clicked nervously. Our investigation suggests the assassin used technology none of our species possess. The energy signature was completely unknown. Are you implying humanity killed their own ambassador? Asked Counselor Vera of the aquatic Delphini. I'm implying someone wanted to ensure these negotiations failed, Klicknich replied. But we may never know who. The mystery deepened when council ships began disappearing near human space. The first incident involved a science vessel studying a pulsar system at the edge of human territory. The ship simply stopped transmitting. Search and rescue teams found no wreckage, no survivors, no explanation. More disappearances followed. Trading vessels, military patrols, diplomatic missions. Any ship that ventured too close to human colonies vanished without a trace. The vanishings created a buffer zone around human space that no council vessel could cross. They're not destroying our ships, reported Admiral Zexte during a classified briefing. Our vessels aren't being attacked. They're just gone, as if they never existed. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Catherine Morrison stood in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Banks of quantum computers hummed around her, processing data from across the galaxy. The holographic display showed the positions of every human ship, every colony, every secret installation. Project Nightfall is fully operational, reported General Harrison Liu. All assets have been recalled. The Shadow Fleet has taken position. Morrison nodded grimly. Ambassador Chen knew the risks when she accepted this mission. She also knew what would happen if they killed her. Man, the Council is demanding explanations. They want to know why we've withdrawn. Let them wonder, Morrison replied. For 50 years, we've played by their rules, accepted their condescension, pretended to be grateful for their tolerance. They wanted to see what humanity is capable of when pushed too far. Now they'll learn. The Shadow Fleet represented humanity's greatest secret. For decades, automated shipyards hidden in asteroid fields and rogue planets had constructed vessels using technologies the Council couldn't imagine. These ships operated without crews, controlled by quantum AI systems that could think faster than any biological mind. Dr. Elena Vasquez, head of the Stellar Engineering Division, approached Morrison with a tablet displaying star charts. The first phase targets are ready. We can begin stellar manipulation whenever you give the order. Morrison studied the display. Red dots mark strategic star systems throughout Council space, not heavily populated worlds, but crucial navigation points and trade routes. Begin with the outer systems. Let them see what we can do before we move closer to their core worlds. The first star went dark 3 weeks after Ambassador Chen's death. Proxima Kepler, a red dwarf that served as a waypoint for ships traveling between the Council's industrial sectors, simply stopped shining. The change wasn't gradual like a natural stellar death. One moment, the star burned with its usual dim red light. The next, it was gone, leaving only empty space. The effect on nearby systems was immediate. Navigation became nearly impossible without the familiar reference point. Trade ships found themselves lost in the void, unable to calculate hyperspace jumps accurately. Several vessels suffered critical failures trying to reach destinations they could no longer locate. It's impossible, declared Dr. Yithvar, the Council's chief astrophysicist. Stars don't simply disappear. Even if it went supernova, we would see the explosion, detect the radiation. Our sensors show nothing, added his assistant. No energy signature, no gravitational anomaly. It's as if the star was never there. But humanity's message was just beginning. Over the following weeks, more stars vanished. Not randomly, but with surgical precision. Each disappearance disrupted a major trade route or strategic position. The galaxy's economy began to strain as shipping companies rerouted around the growing dark zones. The Council's military responded by deploying fleets to protect remaining star systems, but their ships couldn't defend against an enemy they couldn't see or understand. How do you fight someone who can turn off stars? Fear spread through the galactic community like a plague. Species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia suddenly found themselves helpless against an opponent they had dismissed as primitive. Humanity hadn't fired a single shot, hadn't destroyed a single world, yet they were bringing the Council to its knees. In the depths of space, far from any planetary system, Admiral Sarah Blake commanded the Shadow Fleet from her flagship, the Erebus. The massive vessel existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, simultaneously present and absent from normal spacetime. All stellar manipulation platforms are online, reported her AI companion, designation Atlas. We can darken any star in Council space within 6 hours of receiving orders. Blake studied the tactical display, showing the galaxy's power structure. Red zones indicated areas where humanity's actions had disrupted Council control. The zones were expanding exponentially as panic spread. The Council wanted to see humanity's true nature, Blake said quietly. They killed our ambassador because they feared what we might become. Now they'll discover their worst fears were justified. The Shadow Fleet's true purpose wasn't conquest, it was demonstration. Humanity didn't want to rule the galaxy. They wanted to prove they couldn't be ruled by others. Every darkened star was a message. We are not your subjects. We are not your equals. We are your superiors, and we have been patient long enough. As the first part of humanity's response reached its crescendo, the galaxy held its breath. The assassination of Ambassador Chen had triggered something beyond war, beyond politics, beyond anything the Council had experienced in their 1,000-year history. They had killed a human diplomat, and in response, humanity was teaching the galaxy a new emotion: terror. When stars fall silent, the emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in near darkness. Half the illumination that normally filled the Great Assembly Hall had vanished with the 15 stars humanity had extinguished across the galaxy. The remaining light cast eerie shadows across the faces of delegates who had never known fear on this scale. Elder Thaxmore's crystalline form flickered with unstable energy patterns, a sign of extreme distress among his species. In 3,000 years of recorded galactic history, no civilization has demonstrated the ability to manipulate stellar objects. Yet humanity has darkened 15 stars in as many days. General Clicknish's exoskeleton had dulled to a matte black, another stress response. Our fleets are scattered, our trade routes severed. Every ship captain in Council space is afraid to make hyperspace jumps without reliable navigation points. The Terrans are systematically dismantling our civilization without firing a shot. Councillor Vera's aquatic suit bubbled with agitation. We must attempt communication. Send delegations to human space. Negotiate. With what? Demanded Admiral Zextai. We sent 12 diplomatic vessels toward human colonies. 3 turned back when their crews refused to proceed. 9 others vanished the moment they crossed into human territory. We can't even find Earth anymore. The truth was more disturbing than the Admiral realized. Earth hadn't moved. It had been hidden. Humanity's stellar engineers had constructed a sphere of dark matter around their home system, rendering it invisible to all known detection methods. Sol appeared as empty space on every scanner, every telescope, every navigational computer in the galaxy. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the observation deck of humanity's newest achievement, the Dyson Array, a network of energy collectors wrapped around Alpha Centauri. The station harvested power from the star's fusion reactions, channeling more energy than some civilizations used in a century. Phase 2 is ready for implementation, she reported to President Morrison via quantum communication. We can begin large-scale stellar manipulation. Morrison's holographic image flickered slightly due to the vast distance. The Council's response: panic. Their economy is collapsing faster than our projections indicated. Several species are already requesting separate peace treaties. Denied. We negotiate with all of them, or none of them. They wanted to treat us as a single entity when it suited them. Now they can face the consequences as a unified council. The decision reflected humanity's growing confidence. For centuries, they had been the newcomers, the primitives, the species that needed guidance from their galactic elders. Ambassador Chen's murder had shattered that illusion forever. Captain Torres commanded the stealth ship Phantom's Edge as it glided through the wreckage of what had once been the Altera system. The star was gone, but humanity had left something in its place, a message written in gravitational waves that would echo across the galaxy for millions of years. "Are you reading this, ARIA?" Torres asked his ship's eye. "Affirmative, Captain." The gravitational pattern translates to, "This is what happens when you break diplomatic immunity." Humanity remembers. Similar messages appeared at every darkened star, not threats of future violence, but reminders of past betrayals. Humanity was demonstrating that they possessed not just the power to destroy, but the precision to create lasting monuments to their displeasure. The psychological impact on Council species was devastating. The Korathi, whose civilization had endured for 50,000 years, began experiencing something their language had no word for: existential terror. The Vextar, a militaristic species that had conquered dozens of worlds, found their warrior culture crumbling as soldiers refused to venture into space, where stars could vanish without warning. Most disturbing of all, the Zephyrians, gaseous beings who had evolved in the hearts of stars, reported that they could no longer sense the darkened systems. To them, it was as if entire regions of the galaxy had been erased from existence. Dr. Marcus Webb, the physician who had witnessed Ambassador Chen's final words, worked frantically in his laboratory aboard the Council station. As one of the few humans remaining in Council space, he had become an unofficial intermediary, though his communications with Earth went unanswered. The stellar manipulation technology is beyond anything in our theoretical models, he explained to a gathering of Council scientists. Humanity isn't just turning off stars. They are removing them from spacetime itself. The gravitational effects should be causing massive disruptions, but somehow they're maintaining stability. Dr. Yithvar leaned forward with desperate interest. "How is this possible? Our physics suggests such manipulation would require more energy than exists in the observable universe." Webb hesitated before answering. He had his suspicions, but voicing them would terrify these beings even more. "I believe humanity has learned to manipulate zero-point energy, the quantum foam that underlies reality itself. They're not just advanced, they've transcended our understanding of what's possible." Meanwhile, in the shadows between stars, Admiral Blake received new orders from Earth. The Erebus and its sister ships had been conducting reconnaissance missions throughout Council space, gathering intelligence on military installations, political structures, and economic centers. "Atlas, display target list for Phase 3, Blake commanded. The AI's holographic interface materialized. Phase 3 targets include all major Council military installations, primary trade hubs, and core system defensive platforms. Estimated completion time: 72 hours. Blake studied the display thoughtfully. Phase 3 would effectively end Council civilization as they knew it, not through genocide. Humanity had no interest in mass extinction, but through the systematic removal of infrastructure that held their society together. Delay Phase 3, she decided. Maintain current pattern. Let them think about what's coming. The waiting was perhaps the cruelest part of humanity's strategy. Each day that passed without new stars vanishing gave the Council hope that the attacks had ended. Then, just as they began to relax, another system would go dark, shattering their fragile optimism. On the mining world of Kepler 442 bits, Colonial Administrator Jen Tak watched the night sky with growing horror. 3 of the 6 stars visible from her planet had disappeared in the past week. The psychological effect on her people was catastrophic. Some had stopped working, others refused to leave underground shelters, and a few had begun worshipping humanity as gods of destruction. "The humans are not gods," she told her staff during their daily briefing. "They are a species like any other. They must have limitations." But even as she spoke the words, Jen Tak didn't believe them. What kind of limitations could apply to beings who wielded stars like weapons? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sarah Kim, A xenoanthropologist who had spent years studying human culture published a report that spread through council space like wildfire. Humanity's actions follow a clear pattern, she wrote. They are not random destroyers or conquerors. Every star they've darkened served a strategic purpose. Every message they've sent contained specific meaning. They are conducting a form of psychological warfare designed to demonstrate capability without causing unnecessary casualties. The report continued. Humans possess something most council species have lost: the ability to act with unified purpose when threatened. Their response to Ambassador Chen's assassination represents not just military retaliation, but a fundamental rejection of council authority over human affairs. Dr. Kim's conclusion sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Humanity is not trying to destroy us. They are teaching us that we are no longer the dominant powers in this galaxy. The question is whether we can accept this new reality peacefully. As if responding to her words, the star manipulation stopped. For 10 days, no new systems went dark. No new messages appeared in the cosmic background radiation. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the next phase of humanity's demonstration. Then, on the 11th day, every star in council space simultaneously dimmed by exactly 10%. The effect lasted only 60 seconds, but its implications were staggering. Humanity had demonstrated they could affect not just individual stars, but stellar objects across the entire galaxy simultaneously. The coordination required for such an action suggested technological capabilities that bordered on the divine. President Morrison stood before the assembled leadership of humanity in the great chamber beneath Mount Rushmore. The room contained representatives from every human colony, every military command, every research facility. The Council's response to our demonstration has been inadequate, she announced. They continue to debate, to seek explanations, to hope that we will simply stop. They do not understand that this is not a negotiation. It is a revelation. General Liu stepped forward. Our intelligence indicates several council species are preparing to surrender individually. The Delphini have already begun broadcasting messages of submission. Unacceptable, Morrison replied firmly. We will not allow the Council to fragment and reform. They killed our ambassador as a unified body. They will answer for that crime as a unified body. The President activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's political structure. Red zones indicated areas where humanity's actions had disrupted Council control. The zones now covered nearly 40% of explored space. Phase 4 will begin tomorrow, she announced. We will darken every star in Council space except for those illuminating inhabited worlds. Let them exist in artificial twilight until they learn humility. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Phase 4 would effectively end interstellar civilization as the galaxy knew it. Without stellar navigation points, without the energy sources that powered their technology, the Council species would be reduced to isolated worlds struggling to maintain basic civilization. It was not genocide. It was something far more psychologically devastating. It was the demonstration that humanity could end their civilization at will, but chose mercy instead. As the meeting concluded, Morrison received a priority communication from Admiral Blake. The Admiral's image appeared, transmission delayed by the vast distances involved. Madam President, we're receiving unencrypted broadcasts from across Council space. Multiple species are requesting direct communication with human leadership. The message is consistent: unconditional surrender. Morrison nodded grimly. Tell them we will consider their surrender once they deliver the parties responsible for Ambassador Chen's assassination. Until then, the darkness continues to spread. The galaxy had learned a terrible lesson. Humanity's patience was not weakness, and their diplomacy was not submission. They were a species that remembered their dead, honored their fallen, and possessed the power to reshape reality itself in service of justice. The Council had killed a human envoy expecting political consequences. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's response to betrayal was to teach the entire galaxy the meaning of fear. As the first artificial night fell across dozens of worlds, trillions of beings looked up at skies that had been robbed of their light and whispered the same question: what have we done? The answer hung in the darkness between worlds. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and now the galaxy would learn to live in its shadow.